Alright, well, we've got the flex plate off and the transmission out. We might as well replace this rear main seal because I don't know if it's ever been replaced. Got a lot of oil leakage. Hopefully that will solve some of the problem. We're going to start by draining the oil from the pan, pulling the filter, and then we'll take the pan off. Okay, I finally got my oil pan off. While you've got the pan off, it's a good time to check the bottom side of your engine. These engines, the 6.2 and the 6.5 diesels and the GMs, are prone to something called main web cracking. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you exactly what I mean by that. Actually, you can see a crack right there. So that is part of the block. There's a crack there. There are 3 main webs on the inner part of the block. So you've got 1, 2, and then a third one up there, and then you've got the ends of the block too. So I found cracks on all 3 of the middle main webs. So needless to say, this is probably not a candidate for a turbo later in its life. We'll just try and get good fuel economy with it. One more thing. I'm kind of a dummy and I couldn't get the dipstick filler tube out of the oil pan, so I cut it with a reciprocating saw. Means I'm gonna have to replace it. It's kind of a stupid thing to do. I really could not figure out how to get it out of the pan, and the bolt that held it to the block up top was rusted to the point where I just couldn't get it off. So I'm gonna have to figure out later how to fix that. Right now we're gonna replace the rear main seal. There's the oil pump right there. We're gonna remove that, and then we are going to take the bolts out of that cap there on the rear main seal and pull the cap off, and then we'll get the seal out. Alright, first using a 10mm socket, or sorry, this is a 15mm socket to loosen the oil pump. Maybe. Dang. There we go. I'm gonna put that in the pan. Pump is out. Okay. Those are tight. There's the bottom half. Okay, so here's the main cap that we pulled off. Here is the rear main seal. Now, luckily, this has a marking on it that says outside on the part that faces the rear of the engine, or the outside. So on the new one, we should be able to get that oriented pretty easily. We're going to put some oil on the new one. We're going to put it in this channel here, and we're going to let it stick out on one side a little bit, an offset. I think we're just going to measure it about 3/8 of an inch, and then do the same on the upper part on the block on the opposite side when we put that one in the block. So I'm going to lube that up, and we'll get them in there. Just going to put a light coat of motor oil on it. Alright. You're not going to be able to see it on the camera, maybe. It says outside on it, so we're going to face it to the outside. Slide that in there. And then we're going to measure that offset, and we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, there's the rear main seal on the block. You can see that it's out a little bit on this side. On the cap, it was sticking out on this side. There should be about the same length to offset them on opposite sides, and then you get the best seal. Alright, the tool I got to remove this is for a rope style rear main seal, so I'm going to try to rotate the crankshaft and see if that'll get this guy out. Well, that didn't do anything. Alright, so the way this ended up working out was I used a punch and then some pliers to pull that around. Got the top seal out. Just used the punch a little bit, got it moving, and then grabbed it with the needle nose pliers and was able to pull it the rest of the way around. So let's put the new one in. Okay, once you're satisfied that you've got the offset just right, after measuring many times in my case, you can carefully put this main cap back up. I put a thin layer of Permatex Ultra Black on the very outer edge of this, just give it a little bit of an extra seal on both sides, and I'm going to put it back up there, put the bolts in. I believe the center bolts get torqued to 110 foot-pounds, outer bolts 100, and then the oil pan, or the oil pump bolt, I think is 65 foot-pounds, so we'll torque those back up. There we go. And then we'll put the oil pump back in. There we go. There we go. And there you have it. The oil pan is back on. There's about 1 million bolts to put in. I had a little trouble with the gasket and the RTV. Got it done eventually. The key is put RTV on the oil pan, put the gasket on the oil pan, put more RTV on top of the gasket, then put it up on the engine. You can do it with the starter in. It makes it a little more difficult. If you absolutely don't have to do this with the engine in the truck, I recommend that you don't, because it's a long process. It takes a while. When you're tightening the oil pan bolts, start in the middle and work your way out. And then I ran a quick bead of RTV across this back section too, just to be safe. So hopefully it'll all work out well. Still got the old oil filter on. I'll put a new one on before I put oil in it. We're going to let that set up, the RTV and stuff set up first. We'll put some oil in it, we'll put the batteries back in it, we'll throw the flywheel on, maybe we'll see if we can get it started. Next episode.